I'll expand part 1 of the story in about 800 words using simple English and third-person style. Here's the expanded version. The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with countless stars and planets. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Empire ruled this expanse with an iron grip. Their massive warships, advanced weaponry, and ruthless tactics ensured that all species bowed to their will. The Empire controlled everything: trade routes, resources, and the fate of entire civilizations. Humans had only reached the stars 200 years ago. Their first contact with the Empire had been brief and violent. Within months, Earth's defenses crumbled under the might of Imperial warships. The Empire's forces landed on every continent, demolished major cities, and established control. Humans who fought back were killed. Those who surrendered became servants. Commander June stood at the viewing deck of the Imperial warship Dominance. Her small frame was wrapped in the gray uniform of an Imperial engineer. Her dark eyes carefully studied the massive engine room below, where hundreds of humans worked on the powerful drives that pushed the warship through space. None of them looked up. Their eyes remained fixed on their tasks, afraid that even a moment's distraction might bring punishment. June was different. The Empire had recognized her talent for engineering and promoted her to oversee the human workers. The Imperial officers thought she was loyal. They were wrong. Engineer June, report to Command Center immediately, a metallic voice announced, over the speakers. June's face remained calm as she turned and walked through the gleaming corridors. Imperial soldiers, tall and protected by heavy armor, stood guard at every junction. Their helmet visors hid their faces, but June knew they watched her with suspicion. Humans were never fully trusted. The command center doors slid open. Admiral Kuro, the ship's commander, stood before a massive holographic display showing Earth and its colonies. His skin was pale blue, and his 4 eyes narrowed as June entered. "Engineer June," he said, his voice deep and cold. "Our sensors detected irregular power fluctuations in engine section 7. Explain." June bowed her head respectfully. "A minor calibration issue, Admiral. My team corrected it an hour ago." Admiral Kuro stared at her for a long moment. "See that it doesn't happen again. The Emperor does not tolerate inefficiency." "Of course, Admiral." The holographic display shifted to show Mars, where red warning symbols flashed over several human settlements. "Your species continues to disappoint," Admiral Kuro said. "A group of humans attempted to attack an Imperial outpost on Mars yesterday. They were eliminated, of course, but the Emperor is displeased." June kept her face expressionless. Inside, her heart raced. She had heard rumors of resistance on Mars, but nothing concrete until now. Admiral Kuro turned fully toward her. "The Imperial Overlord has announced new measures. All human colonies will face increased surveillance. Movement between planets will require special permission. Work hours will be extended. Resources allocated to human settlements will be reduced by 20%. "I understand, Admiral," June said quietly. "I will inform the workers." "See that you do. Remind them that further disobedience will result in harsher consequences." June returned to her small quarters that evening. The room was barely large enough for a bed and a small desk. The Empire believed comfort bred laziness. She sat on her bed and closed her eyes, exhausted after a 16-hour shift. A soft beep came from under her pillow. June quickly checked the door was locked before retrieving a small device hidden in a secret compartment beneath her mattress. The device was simple-looking, but contained technology the Empire didn't know humans possessed. The screen displayed a single message: "Weather patterns normal on Jupiter. Nemesis awakens." June's hands trembled. The code was clear. Project Nemesis, humanity's secret hope, was finally complete. After 10 years of covert work, hidden from the Empire's watchful eyes, they had done it. She carefully erased the message and returned the device to its hiding place. For the first time in years, June allowed herself to smile. That night she dreamed of Earth before the invasion. Green forests, blue oceans, and cities full of free humans. They had lost so much when the Empire came. their freedom, their dignity, and for many their lives. But soon the Empire would discover that enslaving humanity was their greatest mistake. Humans might look weak compared to other species. They lacked natural armor or claws, their bodies broke easily, but their minds, their determination, their ability to work together against impossible odds, the Empire had no idea what was coming. As June drifted to sleep, a single thought filled her mind. Soon, a single warship would change everything. Hidden, among the countless asteroids orbiting Jupiter, humanity's greatest secret waited. The asteroid base, Hope Station, looked like any other space rock from the outside. Inside, thousands of engineers, scientists, and former military personnel had worked for years on Project Nemesis. Today, Commander June stood in a small transport ship approaching the hidden base. Just 3 days ago, she had been working on an Imperial warship. Her escape had been carefully planned for months. A small resistance cell had created fake orders transferring her to another Imperial vessel. During the transfer, a disguised human ship intercepted her shuttle. Now she was finally heading to see what humanity had built in secret. "Commander, we're approaching the outer security perimeter," the pilot said. "Hope Station has cleared us for entry." The transport ship slowed as it neared what appeared to be a normal asteroid. Suddenly, a section of the rock surface slid open, revealing a hidden hangar bay. The ship glided inside, and the doors closed. Behind them, when June stepped out of the transport, a tall man in a simple blue uniform waited for her. "Commander June," he said with a slight bow. "I'm Chief Engineer Min. Welcome to Hope Station." Min led her through busy corridors where people worked with purpose and energy June hadn't seen since before the invasion. No one showed the fear that was common among humans working for the Empire. "How many people are here?" June asked. "Almost 3,000, Min replied. "The Empire thinks this is a mining operation run by one of their approved companies. Our fake production reports keep them satisfied." They stopped at a massive window overlooking an enormous construction bay. June's eyes widened as she saw it for the first time. The HSS Defiance. The ship wasn't large compared to Imperial dreadnoughts. It was about the size of a standard Imperial cruiser, sleek and dark gray. But something about it looked different from any ship June had ever seen. Its hull seemed to shimmer slightly as if it wasn't quite solid. "It doesn't look like much," Min said with a smile. "But appearances are deceiving." He led her to a conference room where he brought up holographic displays of the ship's systems. 10 years ago, a research team on Earth discovered something the Empire missed, a way to manipulate quantum entanglement on a massive scale. We kept it hidden. The displays showed complex diagrams that June studied carefully. "This ship can create localized space-time distortions and bypass their shield systems," Min explained. "Their weapons will pass through empty space while we're actually meters away from where we appear to be." "And our weapons?" June asked. "Energy beams that remain quantum entangled with their source. Imperial shields work by deflecting energy, but our weapons aren't where they think they are. They'll pass through shields as if they weren't there." June shook her head in amazement. "How did we build this without them knowing?" "Piece by piece. Components disguised as mining equipment. Materials stolen from Imperial shipyards. Technology developed in secret labs on Earth and the outer colonies." Later that day, June was brought to meet the Resistance leadership. They gathered in a simple room with a round table. Admiral Sunwoo sat at the head, an older woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. "Commander June," Sunwoo said, "we've followed your work for years. Your understanding of Imperial tactics and technology is why we need you as the Defiance's tactical officer." June bowed respectfully. "I'm honored, Admiral." The discussion turned to strategy. A man with a scarred face spoke first. "We should use the Defiance for guerrilla warfare. Hit small targets, then disappear. We could wage war for years that way." "The Empire has millions of ships," another argued. "Even with our technology, we can't defeat them all." "We don't need to," Admiral Sunwoo said, her voice quiet but firm. Everyone fell silent immediately. Fear is how the Empire controls not just us, but thousands of species across the galaxy. They believe they're invincible, and they've made everyone else believe it too. She stood up and walked to a window overlooking the Defiance. We make one bold statement that will inspire every subjugated species in the galaxy. We show them the Empire can be defeated. June looked around the room. Some faces showed doubt, others determination. But no one challenged Sunwoo's decision. That night, June stood alone looking at the Defiance. Tomorrow she would begin training with her tactical team. In 1 month they would take the fight to the Empire. A single ship against an empire that spanned the galaxy. It seemed impossible. But as June watched engineers making final adjustments to the Defiance's systems, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Centauri Junction buzzed with activity as hundreds of ships moved through the busy space lanes. This massive transportation hub connected 3 major sectors of the Empire. Military vessels, trading ships, and passenger liners all passed through this vital crossroads. Imperial warships patrolled constantly, their massive hulls dwarfing the civilian craft. The junction's importance made it the perfect target. Commander June stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance as it emerged from its first quantum jump. The ship remained cloaked, invisible to Imperial sensors. Through the view screen, June watched 3 Imperial battlecruisers guarding the main approach to the junction. "Status report," June said calmly, though her heart raced. "All systems nominal," replied Officer Han from the engineering station. "Quantum field stable. Weapons ready." June nodded. "Begin Phase 1." The past month had been intense. June and her crew, 80 of humanity's best, had trained day and night. They had run countless simulations of this moment. Now it was real. Communications. "Officer Park," June said. "Initiate jamming sequence." Park's fingers flew over her console. "Jamming active, Commander." The Defiance's quantum technology allowed it to disrupt communications in ways the Empire had never seen. Across Centauri Junction, Imperial ships suddenly lost contact with each other and their command centers. "Tactical position?" June asked. "Perfect," replied Tactical Officer Day. "The lead battlecruiser is isolated from the others. Drop cloak. Target their weapons systems." The Defiance shimmered into visibility directly in front of the largest Imperial battlecruiser. For a moment nothing happened as the Imperial crew struggled to understand what they were seeing. On the Imperial battlecruiser Invincible, Captain Tay stared in disbelief at the human vessel that had appeared from nowhere. "Impossible," he muttered. "How did they bypass our sensor grid?" He recovered quickly. "Target that ship and fire all weapons." The Invincible's massive energy cannons fired, but the beams passed harmlessly through space where the Defiance appeared. To be on the Defiance, June watched the enemy weapons miss. "Return fire. Target their primary weapons array." The Defiance's quantum entangled energy beams struck the Imperial battlecruiser with perfect accuracy. The massive ship's shields flared bright blue, and then failed completely as the beams passed through them. "Impossible," Captain Tay shouted as explosions rocked his ship. "Their weapons are bypassing our shields." The other 2 Imperial battlecruisers moved to attack, but the Defiance shifted position instantly, using its quantum drive to jump short distances faster than Imperial targeting systems could track. "Second target locked," Officer Day reported. "Fire," June ordered. The second Imperial battlecruiser suffered the same fate as the first. Its weapons couldn't hit the Defiance, while the human ship's attacks passed through their shields as if they weren't there. In the busy lanes of Centauri Junction, hundreds of civilian ships watched in amazement. Traders from 12 different species recorded the battle with their ships' sensors. They saw a single human vessel, a species the Empire claimed was primitive and weak, defeating 3 massive Imperial warships. The third battlecruiser attempted to retreat and call for reinforcements, but the communication jamming prevented any messages from leaving the system. The Defiance pursued and disabled it with surgical precision. When the battle ended, June addressed the crews of all civilian ships in the junction. Her message was simple: The Galactic Empire is not invincible. Humanity fights not just for ourselves, but for all who suffer under Imperial rule. Today marks the beginning of change. The Defiance vanished as quickly as it had appeared, jumping away before Imperial reinforcements could arrive. News of the battle spread across the galaxy, despite the Empire's desperate attempts to control information. Traders who witnessed the fight told others at their next stops. Those people told more people. Soon, beings on thousands of worlds were sharing the story of how a single human ship had defeated 3 Imperial battlecruisers. Other, subjugated species began questioning Imperial propaganda. If humans could fight back, perhaps they could too. On the Imperial capital world, the Emperor himself called an emergency meeting of the Imperial Council. The throne room fell silent as Grand Admiral Hyun entered, tall and imposing, with deep, purple skin and cold eyes. Hyun had never lost a battle in 200 years of service. "This human ship must be found and destroyed," the Emperor said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "The entire 7th Fleet is yours to command." Grand Admiral Hyun bowed. "It will be done, Your Majesty. This human rebellion will be crushed, and Earth will pay the price for their defiance." As the flagship armada prepared for departure, Hyun studied the battle recordings from Centauri Junction. How had the human ship bypassed Imperial shields? How had it appeared from nowhere? These questions troubled him, but one thing was certain. The hunt had begun. Emperor Sung's face twisted in anger as he watched the recording of the Defiance destroying Imperial ships. He sat on his golden throne, surrounded by nervous advisors who stood in silence, afraid to speak. The throne room, with its high ceilings and massive windows showing the capital world below, felt cold despite the ornate decorations. "Find this human ship and destroy it," Emperor Sung ordered, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I want Earth made an example of. No species defies the Empire and lives." Grand Admiral Hyun bowed deeply. "I have already mobilized the 7th Fleet, Your Majesty. 200 warships are searching every sector where the human vessel has been spotted." The Emperor leaned forward. "Not enough. I want every available ship. Deploy the reserve fleets." Hyun's eyes widened slightly, the only sign of his surprise. The reserve fleets had never been fully deployed in the Empire's 3,000-year history. "As you command, Your Majesty." Across the galaxy, Imperial warships left their regular patrol routes. Military bases emptied as ships joined the hunt. Colony worlds were left with minimal protection as the Empire focused its might on finding one human vessel. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Do-hyun studied the tactical display showing Imperial fleet movements. He was a tall man with a stern face that rarely smiled. As the ship's captain, he handled ship operations while Commander June managed combat tactics. "They've committed nearly 40% of their total fleet strength to finding us," he said to June, who stood beside him. "I've never seen them respond like this to any threat." June nodded. "We've hurt their pride. That's more dangerous to them than any weapon." The Defiance had been busy in the 3 weeks since its first appearance. Using tactics inspired by Earth's naval history, they struck quickly and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Imperial supply depots, communication relays, and patrol ships all fell victim to their hit-and-run attacks. "We can't match their numbers," June had explained to the crew. But ancient human sailors faced similar odds. Fast ships attacking larger forces, then disappearing. That's how we fight. The strategy worked well. The Defiance appeared out of nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before the Empire could respond. Imperial commanders couldn't predict where they would attack next, but the constant movement took its toll. The Defiance needed fuel, supplies, and maintenance. Each jump drained power. Each battle risked damage that couldn't be easily repaired. In the ship's strategy room, Commander June, Captain Do-hyun, and the senior officers gathered around a holographic map showing potential targets. The shipyards at Proxima Station would be valuable, Officer Han suggested. June shook her head. Too heavily defended now. The Empire has reinforced all major installations. We've struck 12 critical installations, but we can't keep this pace forever, June admitted, the strain showing on her face. Our power cells are at 60% and dropping. We need to find a place to resupply. Captain Do-Yun pointed to a small Imperial outpost near the edge of controlled space. This facility is primarily a research station, but it has a power generation plant we could use. Security should be minimal. June studied the location. Good choice. We'll attack at Oro 600 hours tomorrow. What they didn't know was that someone had betrayed them. In a distant space station, a human technician with family held hostage by the Empire transmitted a coded message. The Defiance will attack Research Station 47 tomorrow. The next day, the Defiance dropped out of quantum jump near the research station. Immediately, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple Imperial signatures, Navigator Yunji shouted, her voice rising in panic. They were waiting for us. From behind nearby moons and asteroids, Imperial warships appeared. Not just a few patrol vessels, but 30 heavy cruisers led by Grand Admiral Hyun's flagship. A massive dreadnought twice the size of any ship they'd faced before. The Defiance tried to jump away, but coordinated ion fire from multiple directions hit their engines. The quantum drive sputtered and failed. Drive systems damaged, Officer Han reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Quantum field unstable. We can't jump. Captain Do-Yun took command. All power to shields and weapons. Prepare for combat. But the situation was dire. Imperial ships surrounded them in a perfect sphere formation, closing in from all directions. Their usual tactics wouldn't work with damaged engines. We're surrounded, whispered Navigator Yunji as she watched the tactical display showing Imperial warships closing in from all directions. June stared at the approaching enemy fleet, her mind racing. The Defiance had one advantage left, one final card to play, but using it might destroy them along with their enemies. The time for caution had passed. Humanity's last hope was about to face its greatest challenge. The Imperial fleet surrounded the Defiance, weapons locked on target. Grand Admiral Hyun's massive flagship stood at the center of the formation. Behind it loomed an even larger vessel, Emperor Sung's personal warship, the Dominion. Its golden hull gleamed in the light of a nearby star, a symbol of Imperial power and arrogance. On the Defiance's damaged bridge, emergency lights flashed red. Smoke drifted from burned-out systems. Captain Do-Yun gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered from another hit. Shields at 28%, Officer Han reported. We can't take much more of this. A communication channel opened. Grand Admiral Hyun's face appeared on screen, his expression cold and triumphant. Human vessel, this is your only warning. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Captain Do-Hyun looked at Commander June. Options. June's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. There's only one, Protocol Omega. The bridge fell silent. Protocol Omega was their final option, never tested outside simulations, potentially deadly to everyone involved. You're sure? Do-Hyun asked quietly. June nodded. It's all we have left. Captain Do-Hyun took a deep breath and gave the order. All hands prepare for Protocol Omega. On screen, Grand Admiral Hyun grew impatient. Your answer, humans. We'll give you our answer in person, June replied before cutting the transmission. She turned to her crew. Activate Protocol Omega. Officer Han's hands flew across his console, inputting complex commands. Quantum field inverting. Power channeling to main array. The Defiance began to vibrate. The air seemed to shimmer around them as the quantum field that normally protected the ship started to expand outward. What are they doing? Grand Admiral Hyun demanded as his sensors detected the strange energy building around the human vessel. Before anyone could answer, the Defiance fired, not weapons, but a massive pulse of quantum energy. It spread in all directions, washing over the Imperial ships. Across the Imperial fleet, systems failed. Their advanced technology, dependent on precise quantum states, suddenly received contradictory information. Weapons wouldn't fire. Shields flickered and died. Engines shut down to prevent catastrophic failures. Now, June ordered. Full power to remaining engines. Despite its damage, the Defiance surged forward directly toward Emperor Sung's flagship. The few Imperial ships still functioning fired desperately, but their aim was off, their targeting systems confused by the quantum disruption. The Defiance docked forcefully with the Emperor's vessel, locking onto its main airlock. June led a small team of fighters aboard. Imperial guards tried to stop them, but their weapons malfunctioned, affected by the lingering quantum disruption. The team fought their way to the Imperial throne room. There, Emperor Sung waited, surrounded by his elite guards. He was tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. His eyes were completely black, showing no emotion. "I expected more from the humans who caused me so much trouble," the Emperor said coldly as June approached. June raised her weapon. "Surrender. Your fleet is disabled. Your ship is under our control." The Emperor smiled. "You think this is victory? I have thousands more ships, millions of soldiers. You've accomplished nothing but your own destruction." "You're wrong," June replied. "We've accomplished exactly what we set out to do." She gestured to Officer Park, who activated a small device. Suddenly, the Emperor realized they were broadcasting. Their confrontation was being transmitted on all Imperial channels to every world, every ship, every colony in the galaxy. "This was never about defeating your entire empire with one ship," June said, her voice steady. "It was about showing everyone that you can be defeated." The Emperor's composure finally broke. "Humans weren't conquered because you were weak," he admitted, his voice shaking with anger. "But because we feared what you might become. We saw your potential, your unpredictability, your ability to advance faster than any species we've encountered." His words echoed across thousands of worlds. Billions of beings from hundreds of subjugated species heard the mighty Emperor admit he feared humans. "That ends today," June said. "Not just for humans, but for all species under Imperial rule." Within days, rebellions erupted across the galaxy. Imperial forces, scattered by the hunt for the Defiance, couldn't contain them all. Species that had been enemies under Imperial rule now worked together against their common oppressor. A month later, representatives from 50 formerly subjugated species gathered on Earth. They formed a new galactic council where humans took leadership alongside others. The knowledge that built the Defiance was shared freely, a foundation for cooperation rather than domination. Admiral Sunwoo stood with Commander June on a balcony overlooking the new council chambers being built in what was once an Imperial fortress. "Single ship changed everything," Sunwoo remarked as they watched ships from dozens of worlds landing peacefully below. June smiled. "Not the ship, the idea it represented, that we're stronger together than alone. That's what really changed the galaxy."